Cartoons have always been a way for people to either escape, make fun of, or shine light on reality. Steamboat Willie amazed audiences with its combination of animation and sound. The Simpsons has entertained millions for the last 3 decades. SpongeBob shaped the humor of 2 entire generations. And countless other cartoons have made their way onto your television screen. Ed, Edd and Eddy was a show on Cartoon Network that made its way onto mine, and it followed the adventures of 3 outcast kids on summer vacation. There's Ed, the strong, airheaded, dim-witted, and considerate of the 3 who has very short hair. He wears red and white striped shirt with a green jacket with 2 white stripes on each sleeve and purple blue jeans. His skin is yellow unlike all the other characters, and he's known to laugh a lot and is happy most of the time. There's Ed, who is referred to as Double D, who is really smart, quiet, and unnaturally polite. Exempt from gym class since his dodgeball incident, Double D spends most of his free time studying chemistry and biology in the library, and as a result, he's more socially accepted by the rest of the kids in the neighborhood than Ed and Eddy. He's usually seen as the peacemaker or offering the rest of the kids advice. Then there's Eddy. He's the self-appointed leader of the Eds. He's arrogant, self-centered, ignorant, loudmouthed, immature, greedy, and hot-tempered. He loves money, jawbreakers, which he likes to spend all his ill-earned money on, dirty magazines as hinted in The Luck of the Ed, his room, and Chunky Puffs. Eddy usually is the one coming up with the plans for scamming people, but they almost always fail, much to his frustration. Most of their shenanigans revolve around scamming the other kids. There's Johnny, who's the loner with the big head who talks way too much to his imaginary friend Plank. Plank! Jimmy is the insecure and innocent child who tends to cry at literally everything, is considered the weakest kid in the cul-de-sac. Sarah. Oh, Sarah. She's Jimmy's main friend and Ed's younger sister. She's grouchy, abusive, spoiled, commanding, annoying, short-tempered, whiny, rude, and just extremely selfish. Kevin is the stereotypical jock character. He's cynical, sarcastic, and can be cruel. His dad actually works at the Jawbreaker factory, so his garage is just filled to the brim with them. Rolf is the quirky, odd, and usually happy foreign character that you can't really pinpoint where he's from because he just has a bunch of odd cultures and customs with a very thick accent to match.
Come, join Rolf with the tradition of eels of forgiveness.
There's Naz, who's the good-natured, sweet, mature, and ditzy popular girl who treats everybody respectfully but kinda has a temper. There's the Canker Sisters, the 3 half-sisters who live in the trailer park near the neighborhood, and they kinda just torment the Eds. Like seriously, they're weird and rapey as fuck. Eddy's brother is Eddy's brother. He doesn't actually have a name, but he's frequently referred to. Okay, so the Eds scam the other kids in the neighborhood out of their money through their half-thought-out schemes to buy the classic, outrageously large jawbreakers. I really wanted these as a kid. Like, come on. They look so good. Real jawbreakers were never this size and they always disappointed me. I think one thing that really stood out to me as a kid was that unlike the Jimmy Neutron's, Fairly Odd Parents, and other shows like them, Ed, Edd and Eddy was hand-drawn, making it look more like the old-style cartoons that I would watch reruns of on Boomerang. The creator of the show, Danny Antonucci, absolutely hated the computer animation style that was taking over at the time and just wanted to do something different than everybody else was doing, making Ed, Edd and Eddy the last major cartoon that was made with traditional hand-drawn animation. And it wasn't just me though that took notice to how different this show was. Ed, Edd and Eddy was really popular and had excellent ratings, allowing it to run a full decade from 1999 to 2009, with 31 million households watching. It was Cartoon Network's most popular show at the time, letting it have a full-length TV movie and its own video game. Ed, Edd and Eddy was able to stand out from the crowd by making a show about average kids for average kids. The humor fit perfectly with its target audience. Suburban kids watching suburban kids get in nonsense. The slapstick in this series was on point, kind of over the top, and the show just had a clear premise and it stuck to that. Like, this show was so funny.
I found my sensitive side because it has a rash.
Oh! My mom's cleaning up my room and she's making me throw out all my cool stuff. But luckily, I was able to save the magazines.
Seems appropriate. You realize if your magazines are in that sewer, Eddy, they would be totally illegible. The text smeared by the damp sludge.
It's the pictures I'm worried about!
Like Mr. and Mrs. Bunny have been practicing the multiplication table.
Oh no!
Avalanche!
Sizzling in this heat. Ah, natural. The man's uniform sure is crimping my style. Mother Nature and me got a thing going on.
I missed that. What's it called?
It's called a sextant, an astronomical instrument used to...
Say it again, Double D!
Did Dr. Ed give you the rubber glove treatment yet? Shh, halfway there, boys. Now all we have to do is go up the... What happened to the stairs?
My parents took them down because I am grounded.
That's disturbing.
I feel like most of that just wouldn't fly now with today's networks, and I think that's exactly why it was remembered so fondly. It didn't shy away from the more real-life topics either, stuff that you were probably seeing and experiencing while watching the show, handling bullies, trying to hide dirty magazines, dealing with acne, and trying to impress your crush. It's crazy to think that this show started out with some rough drawings of kids from a shoe commercial, but in 2009, it was canceled. How could a show doing so great come to an end? Seasons 1 through 4 is regarded as the show's best seasons. Primetime Ed, Edd and Eddy content. Episode 1 aired on January 4th, 1999. Before I was fucking born, what the hell? And it was called The Ed Touchables, starting the theme where every title had to have Ed somewhere in it. Ed and Seek, Look Into My Eds, An Ed Too Many, Who Let the Ed In, Rent an Ed, Boys Will Be Eds, Don't Rain on My Ed, Truther Ed, Falalala Ed. I think you get my point. Seasons 1 through 4 were established as summer break. Then, season 5 rolled in, and well...
School starts tomorrow? Pencils, papers! Binders, blank binders!
I gotta plan my lunches.
I'm so not ready! I still have last year's clothes!
It changed everything. The whole show changed seasons, locations, and animation. Yeah, you remember how I talked about how cool it was that Ed, Edd and Eddy was hand-drawn cell by cell, and how the creators hated digital animation? In season 5, they switched to digital animation, and you can clearly see the difference. The show changed completely. What was once bright, colorful, and had rough imperfections in the animation were now dull, perfectly drawn cutouts of what we once had. The show just wasn't the same as before. Before, the show seemed to exist in a world where they didn't really have adults. Like, they were referenced, but you never really saw them. It was a world without authority and rules, which sparked some pretty interesting theories, but overall, when they went to school, it got rid of that illusion. Like, literally the weather machine illusion, and it placed the characters in school. And they still try to keep that narrative that the adults are there, but not really, which I can respect a little bit that they tried, but it just changed the show to the point where they were really pushing it and made the premise of the whole thing just ridiculous. Another thing that kinda ruined the show for me a bit was in seasons 1 through 4, it was implied that the 3 kids were decent, loners, but if they wanted to, they could very well be friends with the other kids. But in season 5, they were just annoying and tended to ruin everything and just make stuff worse. It felt like the creators pushed the show into a we need bigger, better, and bolder approach with their interactions with the other kids, but it just changed the dynamic and not for the better. While I don't love season 5, and I think that it was the main downfall of the show, I do think that the series finale made up for it. The finale was a 90-minute special called The Big Picture Show, and it was able to wrap up the series pretty well, something that not many shows get. The first minute in the special was completely silent, just showing the environment and the layout of the cul-de-sac that we come to love. They really hit home with the feels that this was going to be the final Ed, Edd and Eddy episode. Really peaceful and calm, and holy shit, they're running for their lives! The whole finale was about the kids hunting down the Eds after they took a scam too far. We get to see the Eds' relationship tested due to pressure and stress. Eddy finally realizes that his older brother, that he spent the entire series idolizing, bragging about, and looking up to, is actually a fucking douchebag. And he apologizes for him also being a fucking douchebag. And it ends with the 3 outcast Eds being fully accepted into the neighborhood group. And it ties everything up into this nice little bow and ends the series a way a series is supposed to end. Over a decade has passed since the end of Ed, Edd and Eddy, and I think it was a great show that hit a few bumps before reaching its full potential. It taught millions of kids what being a kid was all about, and it gave kids of this era some crazy adventures. It may not have been a cult classic or a cultural reset like SpongeBob or Adventure Time, but it was a show that said, hey, you're average. I am too. And it was great at that. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for coming over to a Vibe and supporting me on this new platform. I think it's really cool, especially with sites like YouTube constantly demonetizing and censoring their creators in favor of money, that a Vibe created a place where any creator can talk about everything, and that's just okay. If you like this video, please drop a like, share with some friends. I'll be posting twice a week on here, so keep an eye out, and I will see you soon.